Trigger warning. Ghosts, ghouls, and gruesome stuff ahead. It's weird. It's dark. It's your kind of vibe. Welcome to Haunted and Homicidal, the podcast where true crime meets the paranormal. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Courtney. Every week we uncover the terrifying, the twisted, and the totally unexplainable. Lock your doors and grab your sage.
Because things are about to get haunted and homicidal.
She said burger.
You can't have it. It's got onions.
She said burger.
Oh, baby.
She said give me a piece of bread.
Yeah, she just pops her little head up right here in this every time I'm eating in here. What are you doing? Hi. You want a piece of bread? Want to do some ASMR? I don't think it's going to do a whole lot because it's bread, but we'll try. Ready? That's pretty good. It wasn't crunchy ASMR. It was just regular ASMR, I guess, because it's bread, and bread is not crunchy. You're not getting any more, though. You stole half my lunch yesterday. Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed last week. Today is going to be part 2 of the Manson Chronicles.
Yes.
And also, hopefully, next episode or soon, we will have a big announcement to make. We're excited. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Oh, my back.
Well, that's all we got going on for right now. So I guess we will just go ahead and get into it.
I talked about the murders that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have suspected murders. So in total, Manson and his followers are convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder. However, the LAPD believes that the family could have claimed up to 12 more victims.
That's wild. So that would have been, what, 21 total? 23 total? 21 total.
21.
Yeah. 21.
21. Cliff Shepard, a former LAPD robbery homicide division detective, said that Manson repeatedly claimed to have killed many others. Prosecutor Stephen Kay supported this assertion. Quote, I know that Manson one time told one of his cellmates that he was responsible for 35 murders. Yeah, but the thing with Manson is, like, he tended to brag a lot. Yes. But he was so eccentric, like, a lot of the time it probably wasn't, like, truth. He just liked the attention, and he knew how to get it. Exactly. Which is why he had 18 fucking women living with him. You got your horsey? You got your horsey? Tate's younger sister, Deborah Tate, has also claimed that investigations are, quote, just scraping the surface when it comes to the number of Manson's victims, and has further elaborated on how Manson sent her a taunting map of the Panamint Range with crosses on it that she believed were meant to represent buried bodies.
Okay, like, without context, I wouldn't know why she would be thinking that other than just because of who he was, I guess.
Yeah, the fact that he sent it to a murder victim's sister, too.
Yeah, but, like, that wouldn't make sense.
No.
Like, if he sent it to the police or something, I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that might be like, hey, haha, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's Manson.
Yeah, I know.
This has resulted in several excavations that have been undertaken at Manson's Barker Ranch, but they have not resulted in any bodies being found.
Yep.
So now we're going to talk about, like, the ones they suspect.
Okay.
So Nancy Morin, 64, and Clyde Dulaney, who was 24, were both found near Ukiah, California, at the antique store owned by Warren on October 13th, 1968. They had both been beaten and strangled to death with 36 leather thongs. After the family members were arrested, they became suspects when it was discovered that members of the family had been in the Ukiah area at the time of the murders. However, no one in the family was ever charged with the murders, and no arrests were ever made in the case.
It's just circumstantial evidence that they couldn't tie to them, but it's just kind of like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they probably,
probably did it.
Yeah. And then, because they like to overkill and shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Marina Elizabeth Hobby, 17 was murdered on December 30th, 1968. She was a student at the University of Hawaii, home on vacation when she was murdered in LA. According to the autopsy report, her throat had been slashed and she had received numerous knife wounds to the chest. She suffered multiple contusions to the face and throat and had been garroted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just whatever they find to tie around your neck.
There was no evidence of rape. She was abducted outside the home of her mother in West Hollywood, 8962 Cynthia Avenue. A former Manson family associate claimed members of the family had known her, and it was conjectured she had been one of their victims.
I mean, we never know, but
like everyone they freaking know or associate with, they're like, ooh, kill.
Right. Yeah. Like, hey, I know that dead guy. Like, how often do you know someone who has been murdered?
Mm-hmm.
Like, back to back like that? One or two people in the area. Yeah, I get that, but it's like this girl, they knew them well. They knew these people well.
Because they pretty much knew, like, every freaking victim.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at least the confirmed ones, they knew them or knew of them, but also these non-confirmed ones, they're links.
Mm-hmm.
They're linked to these people.
They're just there. And Manson's just like, oh, let's go kill them.
Yep.
And then we have Darwin Morrell Scott, 64, who was the uncle of Manson and the brother of Manson's father, Colonel Scott.
Well,
on May 27, 1969, Scott was found brutally stabbed to death in his Ashland, Kentucky apartment. His body was pinned to the kitchen floor with a butcher knife, and he had been stabbed 19 times.
Yeah, that sounds like them.
After Manson's arrest, it was reported that local residents claimed to have seen a man resembling Manson using the alias Preacher in the area at the time Darwin was murdered. Manson was on parole in California at the same time of the murder, but the murder occurred when Manson was out of touch with his parole officers.
Seems kind of suspicious.
The man killed his uncle.
He may not have, but his followers have.
Mark Walt, who was 16, was an acquaintance of the family members and was even known to associate with them at the Spawn Ranch. On July 17, 1969, Walt hitchhiked to the Santa Monica Pier so he could go fishing. His fishing pole was found abandoned at the pier, and his body was found the next day near Mulholland Drive. He had been shot 3 times in the chest. Though the family was reportedly shocked, quote unquote, by Walt's murder, his brother was convinced that Manson was responsible for his death and even called him to directly accuse him of his murder. The Los Angeles Sheriff Department investigated Spawn Ranch in regard to Walt's murder, but no links were found and the murder was never solved.
That one I'm kind of on the fence about, because as we've seen, the Manson family typically chooses a knife as the murder weapon. They have used guns, but the stabbing is like one of the big things about them.
Well, Walker, he more shoots more times.
Yeah, but also stabs.
Yeah.
Like, he shoots, but then he makes sure to mutilate, so it's kind of that one I'm on the fence about. I still would say probably.
Yeah.
But it's a little less believable than the others, where they are overkill with 942 stab wounds,
Yeah, and then John Philip Hott, who was 22, was an Ohio native who had moved to California and met Manson in the summer of 1969. He joined the family and was amongst the group who was arrested in the October raid of the Klan for the Tate-LaBianca murders. Manson suspected him of being an informant. On November 5th, 1969, Hott was associating with some members of the family. According to all present, Hott suddenly found a gun in the room, picked it up, and promptly shot himself while attempting a game of Russian roulette. However, when police investigated the death, they found that the gun, rather than having 0 bullets and 1 spent shell casing, instead contained 7 bullets and 1 spent shell. Moreover, the gun had been wiped free of prints. Additionally, a male witness who had held Hott's head after the shooting told Cohen he had entered the room to find a female Manson follower with the gun in her hand. Despite this, police concluded Hott had killed himself.
Okay. So here's the thing. Russian roulette, it can be played of one of 2 ways. You hold the gun to your head yourself, and you pull the trigger. Or someone holds the gun to your head, and they pull the trigger. it can be done either way. So what it seems like is he trusted them that this was legit.
But because Manson
Russian
thought he was
roulette,
an informant, he was like, get rid of him.
Somebody loaded the gun completely, didn't allow him to check it beforehand. So he may have killed himself. It's very possible, but it's also possible that, you know, she may have killed him. Mm-hmm. Either way, he died in front of them and on their property. They're responsible.
Exactly. And Manson thought he was an informant, so Manson was like,
so
get rid of him.
There is definite motive. There is a definite motive there.
Yeah. Even though he probably wasn't. Manson, all freaking paranormal.
Yeah, he was very, very paranoid. And it may not have been that he was an informant.
Yeah.
It could have just been, you know, he knew about the LaBianca murders, and because he was rounded up when they all were, he was like, he knows too much.
Yeah.
And he did know.
Like,
there's
everyone
no
at that
way.
fucking ranch knew.
Right. But he was like released, I guess, like had no connection to the murder. So he's like, oh shit, now.
Because he wasn't there. So they're like, oh, you don't.
Exactly. You know, and it may not be like an informant situation, but in Manson's mind, because he had the information, he was going to tell, he was going to be an informant.
Yeah. And then James Sharp, who was 15, and Doreen.
15.
Yep. And Doreen Gall, who was 19, were both found stabbed to death in an alley in L.A. on November 7th, 1969. The murder of the two young Scientologists involved both being stabbed between 50 and 60 times.
See, these are the ones that I believe, the stabbing ones, because those are the MO, you know, for the majority of the murders. Police
immediately noted the similarities to these murders and those of the Tate-LaBianca murders. The killings of Sharp and Gall happened close to where the LaBiancas lived. So they did them like right after, probably.
Yeah.
In Helter Skelter, author Vincent Bugliosi wrote that Gall was rumored to be a former girlfriend of Manson family member Bruce Davis. Davis had lived at the same housing complex as Gall, but in police interview, he denied knowing her. And then...
So that one sounds maybe like he did it, but not under the instruction of Manson. But he was in the family, so they just are like, they're all guilty, but that sounds just like a scorned ex-lover kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then Res Jurvetson, who was 19, was a young woman found stabbed to death on November 16, 1969. Her body was found with over 150 stab wounds from a penknife to her neck and upper body, along with defensive wounds on her hands and arms.
Christ. That poor woman had to have been like mutilated, like sliced beef. That is so many stab wounds to a body. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
She had been disposed of along Mulholland Drive in LA, California.
Like the other one. Okay.
Some witnesses claimed to have seen a woman named Sherry who matched Jurvetson's description among members of the Manson family, but it turned out that this individual was alive. Manson himself denied any involvement in killing Jurvetson. Detectives within the LA Police Department have noted, quote, striking similarities between the method of murder of both Jurvetson and Hobby, but no firm connection between both murders had ever been established.
So did they have like any kind of evidence that she knew the Manson family or had any interactions with them? It just sounds like she was disposed of.
She looked like
she looked like someone in the family.
They think she was in the family.
Gotcha.
Because they remember like seeing someone like, because they never actually like saw her like close up, but they seen like.
But whoever they said, they found her alive, so it wasn't her. No. So it doesn't sound like she had any connection. She just resembled somebody. In the family. Okay.
So they probably thought like from far away, and like when they're high and shit, they probably thought, oh, it was her. It was her.
The wrong person, wrong time thing.
Pretty much. Damn. And then you have Joel Pugh. We're going to go with the Pugh. 29 was found dead in the Talgarth Hotel in London, England on December 1st, 1969. His wrists had been cut and his throat was slit twice. British authorities listed the death a drug-induced suicide, saying Joel had been depressed. Joel was a family member who was married to another member of the family, Sandra Good. Stephen K. and others claim Manson hated him. Quote, he had no reason to commit suicide, and Manson was very unhappy that Sandy was with Joel.
Jesus.
Kay has said. Joel's death occurred when a number of Manson family members were being arrested for the Tate-LaBianca murders. Manson follower Bruce Davis was in London at the time Joel died.
Mm-hmm. Very suspicious.
Bruce Davis did it because Manson didn't like him.
Yeah, well. Okay.
And then Ronald Hughes, who was 35, was an American attorney who represented Leslie Van Houten, a member of the Manson family. Hughes disappeared while on a camping trip during a 10-day recess from the Tate-LaBianca murder trial in November 1970. The badly decomposed body of Hughes was found in March 1971, wedged between two boulders in Ventura County. It was rumored, although never proven, that Hughes was murdered by the family, possibly because he had stood up to Manson and refused to allow Van Houten to take the stand and absolve Manson of the crimes, though he might have perished in flooding. Attorney Stephen Kay has stated that while he is, quote, on the fence about the family's involvement in Hughes' death, Manson had open contempt for Hughes during the trial. Kay added, quote, the last thing Manson said to Hughes was, I don't want to see you in the courtroom again, and he was never seen again alive.
So he was the defense attorney. He was helping. Okay.
But because he wouldn't let
her testify and lie. Okay.
Yeah. Family member Sandra Good stated that Hughes was, quote, the first of the retaliation murders.
I believe it.
Uh-huh. And then on November 8th, 1972, the body of 26-year-old Vietnam Marine combat veteran James Lambert Willett was found by a hiker near Guerneville, California. Months earlier, he had been forced to dig his own grave and then was shot and poorly buried. His station wagon was found outside a house in Stockton where several Manson followers were living, including Priscilla Cooper, Lynette Fromm, and Nancy Pittman. Police forced their way into the house and arrested several of the people there. The body of Willett's 19-year-old wife, Lauren Chevelle Willett, was found buried in the basement.
Oh, my God.
She had been killed very recently by a gunshot to the head in what the family members initially claimed was an accident.
Okay, so they knew about it.
Uh-huh. It was later suggested that she was killed out of fear that she would reveal who killed her husband.
Right.
Michael Monfort pleaded guilty to murdering Lauren, and Priscilla Cooper, James Craig, and Nancy Pittman pleaded guilty as accessories after the fact. Monfort and William Gucher later pleaded guilty to the murder of James, and James Craig pleaded guilty as an accessory after the fact. The group had been living in the house with the Willets while committing various robberies. Shortly after killing Willett, Monfort had used Willett's identification papers to pose as Willett after being arrested for an armed robbery of a liquor store. Willett was not involved in the robberies and wanted to move away, but was presumably killed out of fear that he would talk to police. And then Lawrence Merrick, who was 50, was an American film director and author. He is best known for co-directing the Oscar-nominated Manson in 1973.
What? So they killed the guy who
pretty much made a movie about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sharon Tate was a former student at Merrick's Academy of Dramatic Art. Merrick was killed by a gunman on January 26, 1977. He was shot in the back in the parking lot of his acting school. Merrick's murder went unsolved until October 1981, when 35-year-old Dennis Mignano confessed to police at his subsequent trial. Mignano was found not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to a mental hospital.
Okay.
Mignano was an unemployed would-be actor and singer with a long history of psychiatric problems and a possible prior relationship with the Manson clan.
Okay.
And then 6 months after the murder of Merrick, Mignano's sister, Michelle Mignano, who was 21, a topless dancer, was also murdered.
But he was in custody, right? Like he was in a mental institution, so it wasn't him.
No. Her body was found on June 13th, 1977, 350 feet into a Western Pacific Railroad tunnel in Niles Canyon. Authorities referred to her death as, quote, execution-style slang, with her dying from exsanguination due to multiple gunshot wounds. A number of bullet cartridges were found near her body. She was shoeless, yet fully clothed with jewelry, so sexual assault and robbery were both ruled out as motives. Her murder was never solved.
Yeah, that just means she bled out right where she was. May have been able to be saved otherwise.
Pretty much.
If exsanguination was like the COD. Because it doesn't sound like it like pierced her heart or anything.
No, they pretty much shot her a bunch of times and
immediately killed her. Yeah.
So now, the investigation. So the Tate murders became national news on August 9th, 1969, after the Polanski's housekeeper, Winifred Chapman, arrived for work that morning. Bro, that's like probably devastating. You walk up.
Yeah, like you're just
Like,
coming
that's
into work.
That's
and,
traumatizing.
like, you open the door, you're getting ready to clean and cook and do like
well, it's
your
not even when she
duties.
opened the door because what's his face was at the front door.
Well, yeah, but
On the porch.
I'd have been like,
And the dude was in the car.
Yeah, good God.
On August 10th, detectives of the LA County Sheriff's Department, which had jurisdiction in the Hinman case, informed LAPD detectives assigned to the Tate case of the bloody rioting at the Hinman house. According to Vincent, because detectives believe the Tate murders were a consequence of a drug transaction, the Tate team initially ignored this and other evidence of similarities between the crimes. And then during the Tate autopsies, detectives working on the Hinman case noticed similarities in the weapons used, the stab wounds, and the writing in blood on the walls. They brought the info to detectives working on the Tate murders. According to Detective Charlie Gunther, Vince didn't want anything to do with the Hinman case. Hinman was a nothing case. Vince didn't want to prosecute it. Held briefly as a... What?
Why?
They just thought they were all separate. One was like drug related. One they thought was that Black Panther clan.
Right.
They're just like, oh, it's not... They didn't want to believe
They're not
that
connected.
They're not connected. They're all separate cases.
Okay.
Held briefly as a Tate suspect, Garrettson told police he had neither seen nor heard anything on the murder night, which was the groundskeeper.
Okay.
He was released on August 11th, 1969, after undergoing a polygraph examination that indicated he had not been involved in the crimes.
So he just wasn't there that night, or it was quiet
because the other kid was leaving, so he probably had already left, and then the other kid was leaving.
Okay. I want to say maybe he was just threatened and scared, but if he passed the polygraph, then he probably didn't know anything about it.
Because since the other kid was leaving, they were all probably like leaving.
Leaving at the
And then the LaBianca crime scene was discovered at 10:30 p.m. on August 10th, approximately 19 hours after the murders were committed, when 15-year-old Frank Struthers, Rosemary's son from a prior marriage, and Leno's stepson returned from a camping trip.
Oh, God. Their fucking kids found them. Oh, God. I cannot imagine.
Like, you come home being gone after a week and...
expecting your family to be there to welcome you, but they're there, you know...
And then on August 12, 1969, the LAPD told the press it had ruled out any connection between the Tate and LaBianca homicides. On August 16th, the sheriffs raided Spawn Ranch and arrested Manson and 25 others as, quote, suspects in a major auto theft ring.
How did they not make connections when the MO was the same? And didn't they write in blood on the doors or the walls of both of those places the same fucking word? See... Bruh. Oh my God. This is what I'm talking about. This is shoddy detective work at fucking best.
So that had been stealing Volkswagen Beetles and converting them into dune buggies.
What?
Weapons were seized, but because a search warrant had been misdated, the group was released a few days later. In a report at the end of August, the LaBianca detectives noted a possible connection between the bloody writings at the LaBianca house and, quote, the singing group The Beatles' most recent album. Still working separately from the Tate team, the LaBianca team checked with Sheriff's Office in mid-October about possible similar crimes. They learned of the Hinman case and also learned that the Hinman detectives had spoken with Bobby's girlfriend.
Okay.
Kitty Lutzinger. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Fuck it.
How do you spell it?
Beausoliel.
Buscoli?
I don't know. I'm going by his first name.
Okay.
She had been arrested a few days earlier with members of the Manson family. The arrest for car thefts had taken place at the desert ranches to which the family had moved. A joint force of National Park Service rangers and officers from the California Highway Patrol and the Inyo County Sheriff's Office, federal, state, and county personnel had raided both the Myers and Barker ranches after following evidence left when family members had burned on earth mover owned by Death Valley National Monument. Had burned a earth mover. There we go.
I was like, what? I was so confused for a second. What's an earth mover? Like a backhoe?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, like, if they were saying that was, like, a person and they just,
No,
like,
it's a
you're an earth mover, like an airbender. You know,
No,
almost like, what?
No, it's a type of
Like a
construction.
backhoe or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
The raiders have found stolen dune buggies and other vehicles and arrested 24 people, including Manson. A highway patrol officer found Manson hiding in a cabinet beneath Barker's bathroom sink. Following up leads, a month after they had spoken with Lute Singer, the LaBianca detectives contacted members of a motorcycle gang Manson tried to recruit as bodyguards while the family was at Spawn Ranch. Meanwhile, a dormitory mate of Susan Atkins informed LAPD of the family's involvement in the crimes. Atkins was booked for the Hinman murder after she told sheriff's detectives that she had been involved in it. Transferred to Sybil Brandt Institute, a detention center in Monterey Park, California, she had begun talking to bunkmates Ronnie Howard and Virginia Graham, to whom she gave accounts of the events in which she had been involved. So then on December 1st, 1969, the LAPD announced warrants for the arrest of Watson, Krenwinkel, and Kasabian in the Tate case. The suspect's involvement in the LaBianca murders was noted. Manson and Atkins, already in custody, were not mentioned. The connection between the LaBianca case and Van Houten, who was also among those arrested near Death Valley, had not yet been recognized. Watson and Krenwinkel were already under arrest, with authorities in McKinney, Texas, and Mobile, Alabama, having picked them up on notice from LAPD. Mobile informed that a warrant was out for her arrest. Kasabian voluntarily surrendered to authorities in Concord, New Hampshire on December 2nd. Physical evidence such as Krenwinkel's and Watson fingerprints, which had been collected by LAPD at Silo Dry, was augmented by evidence recovered by the public.
Okay.
Augmented. Not augmented.
Close enough.
And then on September 1st, 1969, the distinct .22 caliber HI standard butt-line special revolver Watson used on Parent, Sebring, and Frykowski.
Did you say butt lion?
Butt line.
Butt line?
Bunt line. Bunt line.
I was like, why do they have a gun called a butt lion?
Had been found and given to the police by Stephen Weiss, a 10-year-old who lived near the Tate residence. Because you know how I said the one part went flying?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10-year-old found it. In mid-December, when the Los Angeles Times published a crime account based on info Susan Atkins had given her attorney, Weiss's father made several phone calls, which finally prompted LAPD to locate the gun in its evidence file and connect it with the murders via ballistic tests. Acting on that same newspaper account, a local ABC television crew quickly located and recovered the bloody clothing discarded by the Tate killers. The knives discarded en route from the Tate residence were never recovered, despite a search by some of the same crewmen and by LAPD. A knife found behind the cushion of a chair in the Tate living room was apparently that of Susan Atkins, who lost her knife in the course of the attack. The trial began on June 15th, 1970. The prosecution's main witness was Kasabian, who along with Manson, Atkins, and Krenwinkel had been charged with 7 counts of murder and 1 conspiracy. Since Kasabian, by all accounts, had not participated in the killings, she was granted immunity in exchange for testimony that detailed the nights of the crimes. She said, "Fuck y'all."
Yeah.
Originally, a deal had been made with Atkins in which the prosecution agreed not to seek the death penalty against her in exchange for her grand jury testimony, on which the indictments were secured. Once Atkins repudiated that testimony, the deal was withdrawn. Because Van Houten had participated only in the LaBianca killings, she was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 of conspiracy. Originally, Judge William Keene had reluctantly granted Manson permission to act as his own attorney.
I love when they do that.
Due to Manson's conduct, including violations of a gag order and submission of, quote, outlandish and nonsensical pretrial motions, the permission was withdrawn before the trial start. Manson filed an affidavit of prejudice against Keene, who was replaced by Judge Charles Older. On Friday, July 24th, the first day of testimony, Manson appeared in court with an X carved into his forehead.
It wasn't an X, that's a swastika, but okay.
Yeah. He issued a statement that he was, quote, considered inadequate and incompetent to speak or defend himself and had X'd himself from the establishment's world. Over the following weekend, the female defendants duplicated the mark on their foreheads, as did most family members within a day or so. The prosecution argued the triggering of Helter Skelter was Manson's main motive. The crime scene's bloody white album reference Helter Skelter and the writing of pigs was correlated with testimony about Manson's predictions that the murders black people would commit at the outset of Helter Skelter would involve the writing of pigs on walls and victims' blood. The defendants testified that the writing in blood on the walls was to copy that of the Hinman murder scene, not an apocalyptic race war. According to Bugliosi, Manson directed Kasabian to hide a wallet taken from the scene in the women's restroom of a service station near a black neighborhood. However, as co-prosecutor Stephen Kay later pointed out that the wallet was left about 20 miles away in a predominantly white neighborhood, Sylmar, Kasabian said, "Fuck you, I'm not doing that."
Just the shit that he can get these people to do.
Well, she pretty much thwarted all his plans every time.
Yeah, every time.
She was like, no. During the trial, family members loitered near the entrance and quarters of the courthouse. To keep them out of the courtroom proper, the prosecution subpoenaed. Can't read my handwriting for a second. Couldn't read it for a second. Them as prospective witnesses who would not be able to enter while others were testifying.
Okay.
When the group established itself in vigil on the sidewalk, some members wore sheath hunting knives that, although in plain view, were carried legally. Each of them also identifiable by the X on their forehead. Some family members attempted to dissuade witnesses from testifying.
Yeah.
Prosecution witness Paul Watkins and Juan Flynn were both threatened. Watkins was badly burned in a suspicious fire in his van. Former family member Barbara Hoyt, who had overheard Susan Atkins describing the Tate murders to family member Ruth Ann Morehouse, agreed to accompany the latter to Hawaii. There, Morehouse allegedly gave her a hamburger spiked with several doses of LSD. Found sprawled on a Honolulu curb in a drug semi-stupor, Hoyt was taken to the hospital where she did her best to identify herself as a witness in the Tate-LaBianca murder trial. Before the incident, Hoyt had been a reluctant witness. After the attempt to silence her, her reserve disappeared. On August 4th, despite precautions taken by the court, Manson flashed the jury a Los Angeles Times front page whose headline was, quote, "Manson guilty, Nixon declares." This was a reference to a statement made the previous day when U.S. President Richard Nixon, he had decreed what he was as the media's glamorization of Manson.
Okay.
Vor dired by Judge Charles Older, the jurors contended that the headline had not influenced them.
Okay.
The next day, the female defendant stood up and said in unison that in light of Nixon's remark, there was no point in going on with the trial. On October 5th, Manson was denied the court's permission to question a prosecution witness who defense attorneys had declined to cross-examine. Leaping over the defense table, Manson attempted to attack the judge.
Yeah, he was pretty wild when the courts were in session.
Wrestled to the ground by bailiffs, he was removed from the courtroom with the female defendants, who has subsequently risen and began chanting in Latin.
Yep.
Thereafter, Older allegedly began wearing a revolver under his robes. On November 16th, the prosecution rested its case. 3 days later, after arguing standard dismissal motions, the defense stunned the court by resting as well without calling a single witness. Shouting their disapproval, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten demanded their right to testify. In chambers, the women's lawyers told the judge their clients wanted to testify, that they had planned and committed the crimes, and that Manson had not been involved. By resting their case, the defense lawyers had tried to stop this. Van Houten's attorney, Ronald Hughes, vehemently stated that he would not, quote, push a client out of the window. In the prosecutor's view, it was Manson who was advising the women to testify in this way as a means of saving himself. Speaking about the trial in a 1987 documentary, Krenwinkel said, quote, "The entire proceedings were scripted by Charlie." And then the next day, Manson testified. The jury was removed from the courtroom. According to Vincent Bugliosi, it was to make sure Manson's address did not violate the California Supreme Court's decision in People v. Aranda by making statements implicating his co-defendant.
Okay.
However, Bugliosi argued Manson would use his hypnotic powers to unfairly influence the jury.
Okay.
Speaking for more than an hour, Manson said, among other things, that, quote, the music is telling the youth to rise up against the establishment.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
He said, why blame it on me? I didn't write the music. To be honest with you, Manson also stated, I don't recall ever saying, get a knife and change your clothes and do what text says. Bitch, that's exactly what you fucking said.
But he doesn't remember saying it.
Mm-hmm. As the body of the trial concluded, and with the closing arguments impending, defense attorney Hughes disappeared during a weekend trip.
Oh, yep.
Mm-hmm. That's what I talked about earlier. When Maxwell Keith was appointed to represent Van Houten in Hughes' absence, a delay of more than 2 weeks was required to permit Keith to familiarize himself with the voluminous trial transcripts. No sooner had the trial resumed just before Christmas than disruptions of the prosecution's closing argument by the defendants led Older to ban the 4 defendants from the courtroom for the remainder of the guilt phase.
Jeez.
This may have occurred because the defendants were acting in collusion with each other and were simply putting on a performance which Older said was becoming obvious.
Yep.
He's like, we can tell you're fucking doing this as like a script. Like,
right, exactly.
Like, we can fucking tell.
None of this is authentic.
Like, we can fucking tell. We're not fucking stupid.
Right.
Y'all are stupid.
Right, yeah, you're stupid. I'm not stupid, you're stupid.
On January 25th, 1971, the jury returned guilty verdicts against the 4 defendants on each of the 27 separate counts against them. Not far into the trial's penalty phase, the jurors saw the defense that Manson, in the prosecution's view, had planned to present. Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten testified the murders had been conceived as, quote, copycat versions of the Hinman murder, for which Atkins now took credit. The killings, they said, were intended to draw suspicion away from Bobby by resembling the crime for which he had been jailed. This plan has supposedly been the work of and carried out under the guidance of not Manson, but someone allegedly in love with Bobby, Linda Kasabian. They're like, oh no, it was her.
Yeah.
The one who fucking fucked us.
Yeah.
Among the narrative's weak points was the inability of Atkins to explain why, as she was maintaining she had written political piggy at the Hinman house in the first place. Midway through the penalty phase, Manson shaved his head, trimmed his beard to a fork, and told the press, quote, I am the devil, and the devil always has a bald head. In what the prosecution regarded as belated recognition on their part, the imitation of Manson only provided his domination. The female defendants refrained from shaving their heads until the jurors retired to weigh the state's request for the death penalty. The effort to exonerate Manson via the copycat scenario failed.
Okay.
On March 29th, 1971, the jury returned verdicts of death against all 4 defendants on all counts. On April 19th, 1971, Judge Older sentenced the 4 to death.
Yeah.
So now we talk about from 1971 to 2017, his 3rd imprisonment.
It's a long time.
So we'll start with from the 1970s to 1980s first. So Manson was admitted to state prison from LA County on April 22nd, 1971 for 7 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of Abigail Ann Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, Stephen Earl Parent, Sharon Tate Polanski, Jay Sebring, and Leno and Rosemary LaBianca.
Okay.
In 1972, the California Supreme Court ruled that the state's death penalty statutes were unconstitutional, and subsequently Manson was resentenced to life with the possibility of parole.
I hate when they do that.
I know. His initial death sentence was modified to life on February 2nd, 1977. Should have fucking killed him.
Yeah.
On December 13th, 1971, Manson was convicted of first-degree murder in LA County Court for the July 25th, 1969 death of musician Gary Hinman. He was also convicted of first-degree murder for the August 1969 death of Donald Shea, the stuntman, following the 1972 decision of California versus Anderson. California's death sentences were ruled unconstitutional, and that, quote, any prisoner now under a sentence of death may file a petition for a right of habeas corpus in the Superior Court, inviting that court to modify its judgment to provide for the appropriate alternative punishment of life imprisonment or life imprisonment without possibility of parole specified by statute for the crime for which he was sentenced to death. Should have fucking still killed him.
Yeah, like, I feel like some people should not be allowed to be taken off of death row, and those are the kind of people.
Exactly. Manson was thus eligible to apply for parole after 7 years incarceration. His first parole hearing took place on November 16, 1978 at California Medical Facility in Vacaville, where his petition was rejected.
Good.
On September 5th, 1975, the family returned to national attention when Squeaky Fromm attempted to assassinate U.S. President Gerald Ford.
Squeaky.
The attempt took place in Sacramento, to which she and fellow Manson follower Sandra Good had moved so they could be near Manson while he was incarcerated at Folsom State Prison. A subsequent search of the apartment shared by Fromm, Good, and other family recruit turned up evidence that, coupled with later actions on the part of Good, resulted in Good's conviction for conspiracies to send threatening communications through the U.S. mail service.
That's not a good idea.
And for transmitting death threats by way of interstate commerce.
That's a federal crime.
The threats involved corporate executives and U.S. government officials. Suppose environmental.
What?
Oh, apparently that's what I wrote.
What is it? Spell it.
VIS-A-VIS.
Vis-a-vis.
Yeah.
Yeah, vis-a-vis.
Suppose environmental. Fromm was sentenced to 15 years to life, becoming the first person sentenced under U.S. Code Title 18, Chapter 84, which made it a federal crime to attempt to assassinate the president.
It wasn't a federal crime before that?
Apparently not.
What the fuck?
They didn't have anyone, I guess, try or
there were presidents assassinated before
well,
that.
it wasn't
Lincoln was
guess,
assassinated.
it wasn't a federal crime then.
But
I guess.
I
don't know.
What?
I don't know.
You learn something new every day. I thought that was always a thing.
Not till then. Apparently.
That is fucking wild.
In December 1987, Fromm, serving a life sentence for the assassination attempt, escaped briefly from federal prison camp Alderson in West Virginia. She was trying to reach Manson because she heard that he had testicular cancer. She was apprehended within days.
What was she going to do about it?
I don't know. The fuck are you going to do? She wanted to be near him.
Okay.
She was released on parole from Federal Medical Center, Carswell on August 14th, 2009. Should have fucking kept her.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we do 1980s to 1990s. In the 1980s, Manson gave 4 interviews to the mainstream media. The first, recorded at California Medical Facility and aired on June 13th, 1981, was by Tom Snyder for NBC's The Tomorrow Show. Mm-hmm. The second, recorded at San Quentin State Prison and aired on March 7th, 1986, was by Charlie Rose for CBS News Night Watch, and it won the National News Emmy Award for Best Interview in 1887.
Okay.
The third, with Geraldo Rivera in 1988, was part of the journalist's primetime special on Satanism.
Okay, always Satanism. It's never any other explanation.
I mean, he did say he was the devil.
I know, but
yeah,
that was in the throes of the satanic panic shit, and there's never any other explanation. Mental fucking illness. It's just Satan. Mm-hmm. Okay.
At least as early as the Snyder interview, Manson's forehead bore a swastika in the spot where the X carved during his trial had been. So now he has the swastika.
Yeah.
Nicholas Schreck conducted an interview with Manson for his documentary Charles Manson Superstar. Schreck concluded Manson was not insane, but merely acting that way out of frustration. On September 25th, 1984, Manson was imprisoned in the California Medical Facility at Vacaville, where inmate Jan Holmstrom poured paint thinner on him, set him on fire, and causing second and third degree burns on over 20% of his body.
Oh, God. Ouchie. That does not sound pleasant. Why would you do... Why? Do you know what burning flesh smells like? I do. It's not great.
Well, he did it to Manson, so.
I know, but still...
Should have fucking killed him. Holmstrom explained that Manson had objected to his Hare Krishna chants and verbally threatened him. After 1989, Manson was housed in the Protective Housing Unit at California State Prison Corcoran in Kings County. The unit housed inmates whose safety would be endangered by general population housing.
Yeah, it would.
He had also been housed at San Quentin State Prison, California Medical Facility in Vacaville, Folsom State Prison, and Pelican Bay State Prison. In June 1997, a prison disciplinary committee found that Manson had been trafficking drugs. He was moved from Courtrooms State Prison to Pelican Bay State Prison a month later. So now, 2000s to 2017.
Okay.
On September 5th, 2007, MSNBC aired The Mind of Manson, a complete version of a 1987 interview at San Quentin State Prison.
Okay.
The footage of the, quote, unshackled, unapologetic, and unruly Manson had been considered so unbelievable that only 7 minutes of it had originally been broadcast on Today, for which had been recorded. In 2009, Los Angeles disc jockey Matthew Roberts released correspondence and other evidence indicating that he might be Manson's biological son.
Okay.
Robert's biological mother claims she was a member of the Manson family who left in mid-1967 after being raped by Manson.
Oh God.
Bitch, they would have killed you. You don't leave unless you get killed. You don't just willingly leave.
Well, maybe she like left and was smart enough to be able to be like hidden for a while until like all this kind of stuff blew over a little bit. Like, oh no, it's not even real. Okay.
She returned to her parents' home to complete the pregnancy, gave birth on March 22nd, 1968, and put Roberts up for adoption. CNN conducted a DNA test between Matthew Roberts and Manson's known biological grandson, Jason Freeman, in 2012, showing that Roberts and Freeman did not share DNA.
Gotcha.
Roberts subsequently attempted to establish that Manson was his father through a direct DNA test, which proved definitely that they were not related. Yeah. He wanted to be related to Manson so fucking bad.
And that's like what we were talking about yesterday. His own like legitimate child killed himself because of the relationship to
And then you have people who aren't even fucking related to him. Oh, that's my dad. No.
Yeah, like
fucking psychos.
Yeah,
no.
That's wild. Like not the flex you think it is.
No. In 2010, the Los Angeles Times reported that Manson was caught with a cell phone in 2009 and had contacted people in California, New Jersey, Florida, and British Columbia.
People he knew or just random people?
It didn't specify.
How did he learn how to use a cell phone? He's been in jail since the 80s.
I have no fucking idea.
Okay.
The fact that he people are fucking quit doing that. A spokesperson for that California Department of Corrections stated that it was not known if Manson had used the phone for criminal purposes. Manson had also recorded an album of acoustic pop songs with additional production by Henry Rollins titled Completion.
Okay.
Only 5 copies were pressed. 2 belong to Rollins, while the other 3 are presumed to have been with Manson. The album remains unreleased.
Okay.
In 2013, Manson stated that he was bisexual, saying, quote, "Sex to me is like going to the toilet. Whether it's a girl or not, it doesn't matter. I don't play that girl guy shit. I'm not hung up in that game."
I mean, we knew that from the beginning because wasn't he raping children in like the halfway homes or whatever?
Yeah, he was raping guys.
Yeah.
In 2014, the imprisoned Manson became engaged to 26-year-old Elaine Burton and obtained a marriage license on November 7th. Manson gave Burton the nickname Star. She had been visiting him in prison for at least 9 years and maintained several websites that proclaimed his innocence. Bitch, you crazy.
Pick better idols.
Like, the fuck? The wedding license expired on February 5th, 2015, without a marriage ceremony taking place. Journalist Daniel Simone reported that the wedding was canceled after Manson discovered that Burton wanted to marry him, only so that she and friend Craig Hammond could use his corpse as a tourist attraction after his death.
I mean, I guess if you need a reason to marry somebody, that would be it.
But the fact that you fucking people are obsessed with this man and wanting to fucking marry him, yeah.
Well, I mean, for her, it wasn't like a marriage of love or desire.
But still,
her and her real boyfriend just wanted his body.
But still,
and I know that there are like other people who are doing it, but like for her, like it was legitimate. Like, I just want your body, like, and not even for sex. I just like want to display it in like a glass casket when you die.
According to Simone, Manson believed that he would never die and may simply have used the possibility of marriage as a way to encourage Burton and Hammond to continue visiting him and bringing him gifts.
Okay.
Burton said on her website that the reason that the marriage did not take place was merely logistical.
Okay.
Manson had an infection and had been in prison medical facility for 2 months and could not receive visitors. She said that she still hoped that the marriage license would be renewed and the marriage would take place. Bitch, no.
So, like, did they confirm that's what she was wanting to do as far as the marriage, or that was just like his assumption?
That's what he apparently found out, but
he found out. But like, was it ever confirmed? Like, now or 15 years down the line, she wasn't like, yeah, that was it.
Not that I found.
Okay. I mean, he was paranoid, so it could not be the truth. Yeah.
And then on April 11, 2012, Manson was denied release at his 12th parole hearing, which he did not attend. After his March 27th, 1997 parole hearing, Manson refused to attend any of his later hearings.
Okay.
The panel at the hearing noted that Manson had a, quote, history of controlling behavior and mental health issues, including schizophrenia and paranoid delusional disorder, and was too great a danger to be released. Now you motherfuckers realize that. Y'all should have fucking realized that when he was fucking 9 and burned his fucking school to the ground.
Not the 47 prior arrests.
Like,
yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I say the things that I say, okay? And I know it's not all police departments, it's not all detectives, but it's more than it needs to be.
The panel noted that Manson had received 108 rule violation reports, had no indication of remorse, no insight into the causative factors of the crimes, lacked understanding of the magnitude of the crimes, had an exceptional callous disregard for human suffering, and had no parole plans.
Okay.
At the April 11, 2012 parole hearing, she's out.
Poor baby.
Like her eyes are rolled back and everything. How long did you keep her up?
Look, I was up until like 2 o'clock this morning. That coffee had me the fuck awake.
We had it in the morning.
It was like 11:30 before I finished it. 12 o'clock. If I don't finish it by 8 o'clock, I'm up all fucking. I was gonna text you at like 2 a.m. and I was gonna be like, "This is your fault."
I mean, I was up.
Yeah, this is your fault.
I mean, I was up. You could have.
But in case you weren't awake, I didn't want it to wake you up, so I was like, "I'll just bitch at her tomorrow."
You could have said no to the coffee.
Okay, but you were coming early enough, but because my grandma showed up and that took a little while, I didn't get to finish it in the amount of time that I normally would have. Yeah. And I love 7 Brew. That shit kept me awake until 2 o'clock this morning.
It was determined that Manson would not be reconsidered for parole for another 15 years, not before 2027, which was next year, at which he would have been 92.
But he died.
He died. In a 2023 reanalysis of Manson's psychological state, researchers suggest that he might have been misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. They propose that he had bipolar disorder and psychopathy.
Also, yes, 2 things can be true. He is a schizophrenic.
He could have all. He is
all probably also bipolar.
He had all of
psychosis.
He had all of it.
I believe it.
And then on January 1st, 2017, Manson was being held at Courtrooms prison when he was rushed to Mercy Hospital in downtown Bakersfield because he had gastrointestinal bleeding. A source told the LA Times that Manson was very ill, and TMZ reported that his doctors considered him too weak for surgery that normally would be performed in cases such as his. He was returned to prison on January 6th, and the nature of his treatment was not disclosed. On November 15, 2017, an unauthorized source said that Manson had returned to a hospital in Bakersfield, but the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation did not confirm this in conformity with state and federal medical privacy laws. He died from cardiac arrest resulting from respiratory failure brought on by colon cancer at the hospital on November 19th.
I remember this. I remember when it happened.
3 people stated their intention to claim Manson's estate and body.
It was a long, nasty legal battle over that shit.
Manson's grandson, Jason Freeman, stated his intent to take possession of his remains and personal effects, which it should have been fucking left to... It should have gone to him.
It should have been him because he is the... He's a relative. Like, it shouldn't go to random people.
Yeah. And then Manson's pen pal, Michael Channels, claimed to have a Manson will dated February 14, 2002, which had left his entire estate and body to Channels. His friend Ben Gurecki claimed to have a Manson will dated January 2017, which gives the estate and his body to Matthew Roberts, another alleged son of Manson, who was not his fucking son.
Right, they debunked that.
Because in 2012, CNN ran a DNA match to see if Freeman and Roberts were related to each other and found they were not. So, no.
Right.
According to CNN, 2 prior attempts to DNA match Roberts with genetic material from Manson failed, but the results were reportedly contaminated.
I'm sure they were.
On March 12, 2018, the Kern County Superior Court in California decided in favor of Freeman in regard to Manson's body.
Should be. There should not have ever been any discussion about anything else, like ever.
Exactly. A funeral service was held for Manson on March 17, 2018, after which Freeman had his remains cremated and scattered on a hillside. So, this man had a cultural impact.
Yeah, he did.
In June 1970, Rolling Stone made Manson their cover story.
Yep.
Bernardino Dorn of the Weather Underground reportedly said of the Tate murders, quote, dig it, first they killed those pigs, then they ate dinner in the same room with them, then they shoved a fjord into the pig Tate stomach. Wild, end quote. Manson fanatic James Mason claimed to be acting on a suggestion from Charles Manson based on his interpretation of something Manson said in a televised interview when Mason founded the Universal Order, a neo-Nazi group that he was that has influenced other movements such as a terrorist group, the Atomwaffen Division. And then Bugliosi quoted a BBC employee's assertion that, quote, a neo-Manson cult existed in Europe, represented by approximately 70 rock bands playing songs by Manson and songs in support of him.
Wild. And, like, let me be perfectly clear when I say I would have been a Manson follower. It would have just been, like, not the racist murderous.
Yeah.
Like, at the very beginning where he was just collecting people and he was just living and having the fucking best time, and then, like, it got weird. Like, at the weird part, I'd have been out.
Yeah.
But before that, I'd have been like, fuck yeah, you know? That's what I mean when I say I would have been Manson follower. I don't mean, like, after all the bad shit happened.
Yeah. And the names of the Star Wars characters, Luke Skywalker and his father, Anakin Skywalker, were influenced by Manson's reputation.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know this part either. Written between January 1973 and March 1976, screenplays for Star Wars, what came out in 1977, had used the names Luke and Anakin Starkiller, but after production of the movie began, George Lucas changed the surname to Skywalker. In 2007, Lucas exclaimed, quote, he felt a lot of people on set were confusing him with someone like Charles Manson. It had very unpleasant connotations.
Yeah, I mean, what did you expect?
Yeah, Starkiller could be misconstrued as celebrity killer.
That's what I was thinking too, yeah.
In a time when coverage on Manson was renewed following Fromm's attempted assassination of Gerald Ford, and Hollywood productions incorporated increased themes of sexual violence and gore following the sensationalization of the Tate-LaBianca murders.
Right, yeah.
So, and how he influenced music. So, Manson was a struggling pop musician seeking to make it big in Hollywood between 1967 and 1969. The Beach Boys recorded one of his songs. Other songs were publicly released only after the trial of the after the trial for the Tate murder started.
Mm-hmm.
On March 6, 1970, Lie, an album of Manson music, was released. This included Cease to Exist, a Manson song the Beach Boys had recorded with modified lyrics, and the title Never Learned Not to Love. Over the next couple of months, only about 300 of the album's 2,000 copies sold. There have been several other releases of Manson's recordings, both musicals and spoken.
Okay.
One of these, The Family Jams, includes 2 compact discs of Manson songs recorded by the family in 1970 after Manson and others had been arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar and lead vocals are supplied by Steve Grogan. Additional vocals are supplied by Lynette Fromm, squeaky, Sandra Good, Catherine Scher, and others. One Mind, an album of music, poetry, and spoken word. new at the time of its release in April 2005, was put out under a Creative Commons license. American rock band Guns N' Roses recorded Manson's Look at Your Game, Girl, included as an unlisted 13th track on their 1993 album The Spaghetti Incident. My Monkey, which appears on Portrait of American Family by the American rock band Marilyn Manson, includes the lyrics, I had a little monkey, I sent him to the country, and I fed him on gingerbread. Along came a choo-choo, knocked my monkey cuckoo, and now my monkey's dead.
Look, Marilyn Manson is fucking wild, okay? I've seen him in concert. It's a good time.
These lyrics are from Manson's Mechanical Man, which is heard on Lie. Crispin Glover covered Never Say, Never to Always on his album The Big Problem Equals The Solution. The Solution equals Let It Be, released in 1989. Musical performers such as Casabian, Spawn Ranch, and Marilyn Manson derived their names from Manson and his lore.
They did. Marilyn Manson is after Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. His real name is like Bruce or something. I don't remember. I don't remember. It's something like super fucking generic.
Yeah. Now I'm going to list all the documentaries.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
So, in 1973, Manson, directed by Robert Hendrickson and Lawrence Merrick. 1989.
And those were the people he killed, right? The Merrick guy he killed, for sure, right? The one that made the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 1989, Charles Manson Superstar, directed by Nicholas Schreck. 2014,
Didn't he kill Shrek too?
No.
Oh, okay.
Hit Merrick was the only one.
Okay.
2014, Life After Manson, directed by Olivia Klaus. 2017, Manson Inside the Mind of a Madman, a television documentary about Reet Jurvetson.
Don't know who that is.
The one, the person they killed.
Oh, one of the people they killed?
Yeah.
Okay.
2017, Murder May Be Famous, Charles Manson, What Happened. 2017, Inside the Manson Cult, The Lost Tapes. 2017, Charles Manson, The Final Words, narrated by Rob Zombie, focuses on the Manson family murders told from Manson's perspective, directed by James Buddy Day.
Rob Zombie and his brother, Bob Zombie. It's Power Man 5000, but I always called him Bob Zombie.
Yeah. 2018, Inside the Manson Cult, The Lost Tapes, narrated by Liv Schreiber, looks inside the Manson family. 2019, I Lived with the Killer of the Manson family. Diane Lake discusses what she witnessed of Manson's peace and love hippie philosophy as it became dark, dangerous, and evil.
So right there, that is where I would have stopped. The
Yeah.
peace and love hippie philosophy, I am down fucking for it. But then you start talking about not loving people of a different skin tone or, murdering people, I'm out. But the whole hippie love, flower power shit, I would have so been there.
Mm-hmm. And then in 2019, Charles Manson, The Funeral, directed by James Buddy Day. 2019, Manson, The Women, featuring Lynette Squeaky Fromm, Sandra Blue Good, Catherine Gypsy Cher, and Diane Snake Lake. Documentary special on Oxygen, directed by James Buddy Day. And then 2020, Helter Skelter, An American Myth, a 6-part TV miniseries directed by Leslie Chilcott.
Okay.
And now the fiction inspired by Manson. 1971, Sweet Savior, an exploitation film inspired from the case but set in New York City, first fictional world about the case. In 1976, Helter Skelter, a television drama.
Mm-hmm.
In 1984, Manson Family Movies, a film drama. In 1990, The Manson Family, a musical opera by John Moran.
What? But, here's the thing. A lot of people see these movies and they just take it as gospel. They don't realize that not everything that happened in these movies is really how the things went.
Exactly. And then in 1990, Assassins, a Broadway musical with references to Manson.
What?
In 1992, The Ben Stiller Show, a sketch series with Manson as a recurring character portrayed by Bob Odenkirk. 1998, Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson, an episode of South Park centered around Manson.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
In 2003, The Dead Circus, a novel that includes the activities of the Manson family as a major plot point. In 2003, The Manson Family, a crime drama horror film centered around the Manson family.
Okay.
In 2004, Helter Skelter, a crime film about the Manson family and about Linda Casabian. In 2006, Live Freaky, Die Freaky, a stop-motion animated film based on the murders. In 2014, House of Manson, a biographical feature film focusing on the life of Charles Manson from his childhood to his arrest. In 2015, Manson Family Vacation, an indie comedy. 2015 to 2016, Aquarius, a television crime drama that includes storylines inspired by actual events. In 2016, The Girls, a novel by Emma Cline, loosely inspired by the Manson family. Okay. In 2016, Wolves at the Door, a horror film directed by John R. Leonetti, loosely based on the murder of Sharon Tate. 2017, Mindhunter, the first episode of season 1, used Manson as a case study. Manson is then featured in the second season.
And, okay, I know you haven't seen it.
I was watching it.
That episode, the way he behaves, he steals the younger guy's sunglasses, like, just because he can. And then, like, he tells all of his cellmates that they were given to him or whatever. And then, like, the security guard returns it. And he was like, how did he even get them? That is actually how Manson was. They portrayed him so fucking perfectly. Like, whoever was hired to do casting for that show deserves all the fucking money in the world, because they nailed it, especially with Manson. When you get to that episode, after you've done all this research and you've seen and read everything, you'll be like, God damn, that's good.
I started Mindhunters.
It's so good. And they're coming back with
I don't know. I wasn't really getting into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love it.
I don't know. I wasn't really getting into it.
So good.
And then 2017, American Horror Story Cult, the 7th season. 2018, Charlie... What?
7th season? What season was that?
It says American Horror Story Cult.
Oh, Cult. Oh, that's when Evan Peters was, like, running for president. And he was Kai.
Yes.
I love me some Evan Peters. Oh, yes. Like, my favorite is when he plays Tate in, like, the ghost mask when he's walking through the school. Like, my knees are weak. But I also like him as Kai with, like, the blue hair. And oh, my God.
In 2018, Charlie Says, a film centered around Manson and 3 of his followers. In 2019,
it's called Charlie Says, like Simon Says?
Yeah.
Oh, because he was telling them what to do. I got that. Okay. I'm a little slow today, sorry. I didn't have coffee, but okay.
I didn't either. And then in 2019, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, directed by Daniel Farrens. The film revolves around Sharon Tate during the last evening of her life. Oh. And then in 2019, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, directed by Quentin Tarantino. The film has a plot revolving around Manson and the family, though Manson himself only appears briefly. And then in 2019, Zeroville, a film that starts in the aftermath of the Sharon Tate murders in L.A., with the main character suspected of being involved. Manson is portrayed by Scott Hayes. And then 2021, We Can Only Save Ourselves, a novel by Allison Wisdom, loosely inspired by the Manson family.
Okay.
And that is it on Charles Manson.
That's a lot.
That was a lot.
That's a lot. And it's rough, man, because he didn't kill anybody. He killed nobody, except that one guy he shot.
He did. Pretty sure he killed his uncle, too.
He may not have. That's what I'm saying. Like, of the ones that they can prove that the Manson family did, he did not murder anybody.
Cake.
Yeah, I know. That's why I showed you.
Oh, my God.
I know. That's why I showed you. But he didn't do any of it. He was just a mastermind. He had minions that did it for him. And that is what makes it so wild. And that is why people like Jim Jones, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson are so fucking dangerous, because they are charismatic.
Yes.
They tell you what you want to hear, but it's also because, like, you feel like they truly believe what they are saying. Ladies, this is what narcissism is, okay? Don't fall for it, or you're going to end up killing somebody for your homeboy, and he's going to throw you under the bus about it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either. But, thank you guys for listening. Again, this one is long, but that is the wrap-up of Charles Manson, one of my...
I struggled way too hard with that with my speaking today. I'm apologize.
It's one of my more favorite cases. I'll be doing my favorite case soon-ish. I think one of my favorites. Stay tuned. We will be having some big news coming.
Yes.
Hopefully this upcoming week.
Someone checks the email.
I have it on my phone.
Okay.
It comes up every day. But I figure it's the weekend. They're probably not there.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be hearing about that. But if you want to know what's going on, if you don't listen that often, or you miss it or need the link to what we're talking about, once we finally talk about it, it's going to be on facebook.com/hauntedandhomicidal. You can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/hauntedandhomicidal. And then obviously you guys can email us at hauntedandhomicidal@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. We are taking sponsorships. We are taking brand deals. We are taking suggestions. We are taking personal experiences with either true crime or anything paranormal.
Yes.
So, just hit us up and we will, we'll do our best to respond. But, sorry this one was long. I think the next one's going to be long too. Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.